What's happening, Hardscapers? This is the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk to you about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And today we have our very first I Am a Hardscaper roundtable interview. I don't know if that's what I'm even going to call it yet. Maybe you guys can kind of throw in your 2 cents on this. But we have three of our previous guests. We've got Caleb Auman of Auman Landscape. Caleb, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's cool to be here.
We've got Jeremy Swihart of J Squared Outdoor. Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And finally, we got Andy Mulder of Mulder Maintenance and Services. Andy, thanks so much for taking the time.
Hey man, no problem. This is great.
So if you haven't listened to each of their episodes, be sure to go over to the How to Hardscape podcast and listen to each of their episodes for a little bit of context. But today we're going to be doing more of a deep dive into kind of different discussions, anything that we want to get into. This is a free-for-all. And I feel like we should start with something that the three of you have in common. Not that you guys have nothing other than this in common, other than the hats, but buggy life. What is this buggy life? Can somebody kind of fill me in on what is buggy life? What does it mean? And why is it such a great piece of equipment?
I think that's all on you, Jeremy, isn't it?
Jeremy started it.
Well, I mean, we started renting these things because we were doing a concrete job, and we realized renting it, we were like, holy crap, this thing's awesome. We can do other things with it. So then we started renting it to run gravel in and renting it for all kinds of different excavation, tight access stuff. And then we were like, we just need to own one. So we bought one. And then just use it for all kinds of stuff. Hauling your tools from the trailer, all kinds of dig out, drainage jobs. It's the bomb. So we love it. And then Andy got one. He made T-shirts. And then Caleb got his, and then the buggy life was formed.
Amazing. So this buggy life, you know, I want to get into talking about tools and efficiency, and because obviously it seems like quite the machine to be able to improve efficiency on the job site. But I want to get into talking about efficiency and tools with the three of you and how you kind of choose where you're going to improve your business in terms of efficiency. Where do you identify those certain things, and where do you find these tools to help you identify these sort of things? Caleb, I know I've seen you talk a bit about this online quite a bit. Can you start us off with this, talking about where to identify areas you can improve efficiency, how you identify those?
Yeah, I suppose the way we look at it is and me trying to get my guys to adapt it too is a whole nother challenge. But anywhere there's friction, you know, in your business where something is like again, the buggy thing for example is like trying to wheelbarrow stuff everywhere and how difficult and challenging that is. And just like anytime you say there's got to be a better way, like there's got to be a better way, right? So always, you know, trolling around on Instagram and like looking to the guys like Jeremy and Andy here for what they're doing, because they're always seemingly ahead of the curve when it comes to you know, efficiency and tool efficiency tools and stuff like that. But I'm always watching. I'm trying to watch like cross industry. So I'm seeing what the pipeliners are doing, and I'm seeing what plumbers are doing or concrete guys. You know, I don't care if it's leather makers or whatever. Like I'm always just kind of looking and watching to see what people are applying in their businesses that are really niche tools that might have like crossover into what we do. So I'm always trying to be reading through all sorts of different trade journals and stuff like that to kind of keep an eye as to what, you know, what's out there.
Now, when it comes to scaling our businesses, it's not like we can just go ahead without getting into an unreasonable amount of debt, that we just go out there and buy whatever we can to improve our businesses. So how do you guys choose what's the next tool to buy, or what's the next area of your business that you're going to improve with these tools?
I mean, I would say a lot of times, like with the buggy thing, like once I saw Jeremy have that, it was only a matter of time before I saved up enough money to buy one. It was not like, man, I might get that. It was just, how long is it going to take me to get it? I run my business without debt, but not everybody does that. So for me, I'll buy it once I have the money, but I'm always saving for equipment. Always. I have a separate account that money goes in there every month to save for equipment. I am never going to stop buying equipment. There'll always be something to buy. And so I often am stashing money away so that when that next thing comes, I either can jump on it or I got to wait a little longer or whatever. And, I'm off, the more I follow Jeremy, I tell Jeremy often, he spends my money very, very quickly. So, I don't know. I'm never going to stop buying equipment. So you always need to be budgeting for it because it's always going to get better and better. I mean, the stuff we have now is great right now, but and like Jeremy said, we had the same Premier, but then he got the 1550 and now it's like, well, that looks a lot better. Now I want that.
So when you're budgeting for this, Andy, how much do you take like a certain percent? Like how much do you know to set aside in that separate account for this?
I don't really have a percentage. It's more like at the end of every month, we do projections and based off of available cash and what taxes are going to have to be reserved for that month. And then, in my opinion, the first thing you need to be saving for is a retained earnings account. And once you reach a level that you're happy with that, then it's up to you. I mean, it depends how bad you need something too. I mean, I needed a lot more stuff 3 years ago than I do now. And so I saved way more money on equipment than I do now. Save more money for equipment is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talked about operating your business without debt. I subscribe to that same model. I know that doesn't work for everybody. Moving over to you, Jeremy, what do you do with your business? Are you more comfortable with taking on the debt to help grow your business?
No, I'm kind of the same line with Andy, and actually Andy's taught me a lot about that stuff, along with like having the different business accounts and taking money out and having retained earnings and the equipment account stuff. So I've kind of been doing that same thing. So cash flow, equipment as best I can. I have a couple machines that I lease, but that's about it. Everything else is paid for. So yeah, I think you're better off just paying cash for things as you can. Save up when you see something you want, save the money and get it. And if you can't save the money, you're not charging up, and going into debt's not going to help that situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and talking about purchases, I know, Caleb, you've purchased something recently that Jeremy seems to have billions of, as I hear online. Caleb, can you talk about what that was that you recently bought and what that means to your business and why you went ahead and purchased that?
Sure. If you're talking about our big truck, our International 4300, it's a 2003, and it's about 1.5 miles long. It's insanely long, but we're excited.
Cool bus, I heard.
Yeah, literally. It's crazy driving it because you got to swing so wide without a trailer. You got to swing so wide going around corners and stuff. But we're excited for it for a couple of reasons. It fits a couple of the key parameters that I'm always looking for in a truck, which is backpack toolboxes. There's tons of underbelly room for boxes, which is super cool. It's got a side lift gate that I learned from Jeremy that's a necessity on the big trucks. That thing's really cool. But the real cool thing is, like, because it's such a big such a big deck, we're gonna be able to stack mainly demobilization off projects is where I see it being really handy, because we're gonna be able to pull all pallets of material off, just like Jeremy does all the time. But you can put so much crap on that truck and demobilize with that one truck what would normally take us 2 or 3 trucks to pull with equipment hauler trailers off site. So that's going to be real cool. And the same goes for mobilization. It's a dump body, so we can get rid of debris. I don't want to get into the trucking game. I don't ever intend on hauling 20 tons of base to a job site. That doesn't pay. That doesn't make sense. But for getting rid of material off site, debris or wastage, stuff like that, it's going to be really handy. One of my guys has CDLs currently, so when we hook up to a trailer, it's rated for 26,000. So in Ohio, and as far as I understand, under federal DOT laws and stuff like that, we're under CDL requirements. So that's cool. But if we hook a trailer up, we're immediately CDLs because of our gross capacity. So All our guys are going to be getting CDLs here soon, and but we're excited about that purchase to just add more to our mobility, really. So, and two, for doing jobs out of town. We're getting to where we're doing a lot of jobs out of town, and so putting job boxes on there and still be able to haul a machine or two to a job site and not have to make multiple trips is going to be cool. So.
Speaking about that, how far are you guys willing to travel for a job? And Andy, starting with you, yeah, how far are you willing to travel for a job, and kind of what are you aiming for in terms of your workable area?
I would say on average we travel about 30 minutes. I've gone 45 minutes. I've gone 3 hours for a job, which I'll never do that again. But I would say on average, almost everything that we're doing is within 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes. And that's really not that, I mean, in our area, that is a massive radius. I mean, there's so much work in that amount of distance from where I'm located at, and 150 other landscapers in our area. It's very populated, and there's just more work than everybody can do. And literally in my area, there's just hundreds of guys. There's got to be. It's just insane.
Mm-hmm. And then Jeremy, what about you? How far are you willing to go?
I used to be willing to go an hour and a half, but we're really trying to ratchet it down. So all of our jobs right now are within 10, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. 30 minutes would be like the max. And our shop is like right in the middle of where our main work area is and where we try to target. So we've done a pretty good job ratcheting it back. And the closer you can stay, the better. So that's what I'm going for as far as for what we do. Stuff that we're doing is a little bit different, but for the more complex patio projects and stuff, if you start getting spread out, it gets real hectic quickly.
Yeah. And then Caleb, I know you've talked about this before with route density and trying to own a certain area. Can you speak a little bit about the importance of that and what that means to you and your business? I feel like, as guys get bigger, they might be wanting to travel further out, but maybe they're not thinking about their numbers in terms of, budgeting this. What does it mean to be able to stick to a smaller area?
The route density thing is huge, and like these guys are talking, your travel time, paying guys for windshield time is killer on projects. And for our hardscape work, we hardly leave the same deal. Hardly leave our county, travel 30 minutes, maybe 45. We started working as a subcontractor for a company that is procuring some hardscape work that's maybe an hour away at the most, but we do none of the legwork. They're providing fantastic plans that are perfect. And we do no interaction with the client. We go, we build a project, we leave. And that right there, like to what Jeremy's saying, like a project can get out of hand quick. That's got a lot of distance between of just customer service issues and meeting with a client and just having all that crap. So the sub model for us on that end is working fine as long as you're getting the numbers you need for your business, right? But in general, what these guys are saying, you really want to try to not have to travel too much for hardscape work. And we do some commercial work, some commercial stormwater stuff where we're going all over the state for that stuff, but that's all priced into the projects, and we're trying to not do jobs like that are more than 4 or 5 days long, and even shorter if we can. So, but route density, especially if you're in lawn care, my gosh, that's a big deal. That'll make or break you. But trying to work as local as you possibly can to what is a good demographic is absolutely critical.
So continuing on this, kind of, I want to get into numbers and budgeting here, and starting with, what is the most profitable job for your business, and why would you say that? So it could be just like a number in terms of the size of the project, could be the type of work. What is that job that is the most profitable for your business, and why would you say that? Why do you think that is? Whoever wants to start with that.
For me, on average, drainage work, we do really well with drainage work. And honestly, like hardscape work, like I get really good margins on hardscape work. And I think that comes down to our efficiency and bidding it the right way. I mean, I don't give jobs away. I am not out there to like get every job. I don't want every job. I want the cream of the crop, and I want the best job, and let the 10 other guys fight over the 4 other ones that I didn't bid on. So like when I'm going to do a hardscape job, it's going to be, the client's going to want me to do it. And there's often, last year, I probably bid on 15 jobs all year. Like every lead was such a good lead that they wanted me to do the job no matter what. And that doesn't mean you can just charge whatever you want. But what it means is it's important. Like for me, I want to put myself in the market where when they're going to call me, they're going to know, number one, that I'm not the cheapest guy ever. I'm far from the cheapest, but that they're calling me and they want me to do the job no matter what. Like a lot of times people that are coming to us for projects, they're not getting other prices because they've already made up their mind. They've vetted us on the internet. They see all our stories. They do all the homework, and usually it's a lot of referral. I don't advertise for anything. It's always referral work. And so I'm saying all that to say I charge a premium for our hardscape work, but they're getting what they're paying for. Especially there's a million guys in our area that are doing this stuff. And so that's where I want to be in the market. I want to be at the top end, and I'm going to put in the best job. And so that's how we're getting really good margins on our work, but we're also doing it really efficiently.
Gotcha. What about yourself, Jeremy? What's the most profitable type of project for your business, and why do you think that is?
For us, the same deal, like what Andy's saying, the hardscape projects that are kind of the same kind of stuff he does, that backyard where you design, build the whole project. You're doing the patio, you're doing the landscaping, the lighting, redoing the irrigation, all that kind of stuff, the drainage, that whole kit and caboodle. There's a value to that to the client that, you know, they're just dealing with one person. You've thought the whole thing out. They're just going to sign the dotted line, write the check, and it's done. And those are the projects that we do really well on, like that 30 to 50K range, in and out of there in a couple of weeks, redo the backyard. Those are really good projects for us. Mm-hmm. So those are the kind of the bread and butter jobs. And
yourself, Caleb?
Our traditional bread and butters have been hardscape projects in the $10,000 to $20,000 range, where we're same like Jeremy's saying, kind of in and out in a week or two at the most. And that's been like a really good wheelhouse for us. We've gotten bitten ourselves, however you want to look at it, on larger projects in the past, but we've not been nearly outfitted and equipped like we are now. And we're looking at things a lot different than we used to as far as productivity and, you know, on-site efficiency and stuff like that. So we've got a couple pretty good size ones for us, a couple 30s and some 50s coming up. So we're looking forward to those being hopefully like these guys are saying, like back where we need them to be. Because we, like I said, got kind of scared on a couple ones in the past. And same like Andy was saying, like we're not giving our work away anymore. I used to, and we don't anymore. Mm-hmm. And so that's been that's kind of our main thing there. And our stormwater division is really doing okay right now. So, but the hardscape thing, it's like anything. You can make it what you want it to be, and you got to have the skill set to back it up, which these two guys definitely do have to back up their pricing. These guys right here are two dudes that, like, you know, there's guys you see on the internet you wouldn't really stick your neck out too far just because you don't know them. I'm sure a lot of guys are really good, but like these two dudes, like watching them and knowing their work, like if I knew somebody in Dayton that needs hardscape work, or up in Indiana where Andy's at, you know, I would not think twice about saying call either of these dudes, because like you know they're super expensive, but you just know they don't cut any corners. And so like Andy's saying, not having any trouble selling that stuff. Like these guys' their work speaks for itself, right? And so you know, it's one of those things that helps drive their reputation, drives their profitability also. So
yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the reputation, like I couldn't charge what I'm charging 5 years ago, but we've built job on job on job, and your portfolio and what you've done and the people you've worked for and the referrals that come from those people, that legitimizes your work and the price that someone is willing to pay. It's not about gouging someone. We're providing high quality work with really good customer service. And most of the time I'm on the job the whole time. And you're not going to get that from everyone, especially in our area. And so those are selling things that I use to sell jobs, but these people know this before they're even calling. I mean, it's just how it's worked for me. I really like going, it's one job at a time. We stay there until we're done. And it's huge like that.
I have a question. Can I ask Andy a question?
Absolutely. Go for it.
So man, so say talk to contractor kid from 5 years ago, how would you tell guys that are in that, stage of, where you were at 5 years ago, let's say, that can't command a premium price? How would you tell them to afford machinery, and like, how do you get to that point where you're at now, but not finance equipment and not get murdered on rentals and stuff? Like, how do you get that ball rolling to get where you're at, let's say?
You got to do really, really good work. I mean, I started with a case 1845C, and I think the biggest job I did with that was like $50,000, which was massive at the time. I mean, I remember losing my mind over that, but it took us way longer, but the finished product it's all comes down to doing really, really, really good work and being really good with the customer. And it's only a matter of time before that keeps building on itself. And I mean, I've rented stuff. I used to rent mini excavators, so on and so forth, but you have to grow slow. I mean, it took me, some people don't think this is growing slow, but for me, I feel like it's growing slow, but once you get to a certain point, it kind of snowballs, because, you get a track machine, but it's important. The equipment is huge because you can do so much more, but if you finance it, that's fine, but you have to charge for that stuff on a job. And I didn't know that 3 years ago. I have a mentor friend of mine that's changed my business by teaching me how to charge the right way. Like, you need to be charging daily rates for equipment. And if you're not accounting for that stuff, you're never going to make it, because you can't own this equipment and not charge daily rates for it. There's so much stuff about that. And once I got to that point, and I got the track machine, it literally snowballs, because you own the equipment, you're getting paid for it daily or monthly or however you're doing it on a job. If it's a month-long job, you should be billing that sucker out weekly, a weekly rate for that machine to be on the job. And that money comes in, and it literally snowballs, and then you can buy the next piece of equipment. And it's not all about the equipment, but you have to do really good work, and you have to build your equipment. Jeremy's told me that. When we first started talking, I remember you telling me something like, you knew when you started you had equipment up as fast as you could. And I don't know why I remember that, but I always remember that. And you have to get things to make your job faster, because that's how you make money. You don't make money having 50 guys out on the job site wheelbarrow and rock around. Who you're just giving your money to other people. The idea is to get the equipment to do it faster, so you can recoup that cost. That's why, like, you buy a buggy. You buy a buggy so you can move the stone faster, so that you make more money on that stone. You don't reduce your price. You keep the price the same, but you got to charge enough money for that piece of equipment to pay you the money that you're losing on labor. I'm not saying that the right way, but I had a client of mine complain to me about a price I gave him this spring. Actually, we mulched his house. We were there for 2 days with 2 guys, and I sent him a bill, and he could not believe how much I charged. And he told me it only took us 2 days with 2 guys. I said, well, I had a $70,000 excavator there and a $15,000 buggy that was bringing the mulch all over, scooping it out of the truck right on the mulch right to the bed. And so we could do the job way faster. he said, well, you didn't have that many guys there. I said, okay, but I had all this equipment there. So would you rather me be there with 5 guys for 5 days doing the job, or do it in 2 days with 2 guys? I'm the one that took the risk on buying all this equipment. So it's not for free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And sorry, go ahead, Caleb.
I don't know if I really answered your question, Caleb. But.
No, that was cool. That was good. May I ask one more question?
Go for it. Keep going.
It's my interview, right? Typical Auman, right? But I did want to ask Jeremy and Andy too. Like, when do you guys make that decision, rent versus buy? Like, what is the catalyst that jumps you from like, oh, we're spending too much money on rental, we need to buy this stupid thing?
Shoot, if I rent it once a month, I should be buying that sucker.
Yeah, I hate renting stuff. So it doesn't take me long to get irritated to buy something. But it just depends on what it is. If it's a game changer unit, then you just need to buy it. You just need to nut up and get it. Like, there's no waiting around. And assuming you have the money to do it, you can't. You obviously have to have some cash. But yeah, if there's something that you're like, I could make this job go so much faster if I just buy this, then just do it. Just get done with it. And the quicker you can get it and the quicker you can start using it, the faster you're going to start making money. So, yeah, I have like a list of things that I want to buy. So I just kind of go down that list and prioritize those items. And as I think that's going to be a game changer. I'm going to go ahead and just get it, not wait around.
But you also don't want to overextend yourself. So when do you reach that point where you think, maybe you should tap the brakes on your purchases and make sure that you're going to be okay, say, during a market downturn that could come at any point, really?
Well, if you're paying cash for stuff, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And like Andy was saying, you got to have a retained earnings account, and you have to have minimums in your operating account, and these things, your taxes are taken care of in another account. So, I mean, as long as you're not going dipping into that money, then I don't see any issue with it. But you got to be smart. You got to save your money, but at the same time, you can't be just being too stingy, because that's going to just slow you down. If you need something, just get it.
Absolutely. And then when it comes to what Jeremy's saying with putting your money into these different accounts for taxes, Andy, you talked about equipment. Do you guys all run your businesses like this? How many different buckets do you have for your business to be able to cover things like equipment, things like labor, taxes, your own profit? How does that all work?
So I have 5 accounts. One is our operating account. One is retained earnings. I'm sorry, I have 4 accounts. Operating, retained earnings, winter, and it is 5. Sorry, taxes and equipment. So in our operating account, as a rule of thumb, we keep two payroll, on average, 2 of our payroll amounts in there, plus a cushion at 10, 20, whatever. We keep a cushion in there, basically for like day-to-day expenses. That's what, like, I have a debit card that runs out of that account. Every month, then after every month, we do a projection for taxes, and then we pull out tax money, and that goes in that account. Retained earnings and equipment is money that gets put in after our operating account is where it needs to be. That always has to maintain that, because I'm never going to miss a payroll, and you got to have an operating account, but you can't. And like separately on a cash projection, we have like our deposits for jobs. Those are always listed out separately. I get a cash projection every week that shows that stuff. So you never want to be living off of your deposits on the jobs. I think a lot of people get in big trouble with that. So that's why these accounts are super helpful. You could have a separate account for your job deposits on jobs. I think that would be helpful for guys starting out big time. I really do, because
Mike
I think
McAllowitz Sorry, Andy, I apologize. I thought you were wrapping up. Mike Michalowicz has a great book about different bank accounts for businesses, and I cannot think of what it's called for the life
Profit
of me.
First?
Yes.
Profit First, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing where you have 5 or 6 bank accounts, or 4 or 5, 6, whatever. I think we have 5, if I'm not mistaken, similar to how Andy does it. And that's a good read.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Van Dyke wrote a book called Profit First for Contractors, and it's completely geared towards the contractor. That book is phenomenal. I was doing that before I read that book, and then when I read it, there's a lot more about that book that I think, and everybody starting a business should read that book in the contract. Any contractor, his is a lot geared towards like builders and framers and that kind of a thing, but it goes across the board. So yeah, we have a winter account because I do snow removal, but I don't ever depend on snow for my day-to-day living. So my wife feels a lot more comfortable if I save what we need to have to survive all winter in that account. And so since I've started, I've always saved exactly what I need to pay myself all winter in that account before I put any money in retained earnings or anything like that, because you just never know with snow. And that was always my big deal when I started was, what am I going to do in the winter? So when we have snow, it's basically a bonus, and that's how I've been able to, buy equipment or so on and so forth. But that winter account is what I save in to pay myself through the winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's smart, especially with the snow. Jeremy, do you do snow in the winter as well?
No, just like a really small amount.
Yeah.
Subcontract a track machine on a lot, and that's it.
And then do you run, so I assume you run your business very similar to Andy as well then, in terms of...
Andy showed me how to do all that stuff, so I've got all my accounts set up exactly the same way he does.
And then Caleb, you don't do winter, you don't do snow, right?
No snow work at all. That's where the stormwater stuff's been good, because we're able to do a lot of that through the winter, so that's been really good for us. But yeah, no snow. I used to adapt. Snow's one of those things you kind of gotta be all in on, or like not at all. And I dabbled and had my toe in the water and just ran myself ragged trying to deal with all that. And no, I'm good.
Not worth
No
it.
snow.
It's no fun.
I want to get out of it. I could get out of it anytime. It's just one of those things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I do it.
Yeah. And Andy, you brought up, your wife into the conversation and how she feels more comfortable making sure that there's that cushion there. And it's a topic that I wanted to get into with the three of you, because you all have wives, you all have kids. Jeremy, congratulations fairly recently on your new one.
Thank you.
But, that brings up a whole different thing in terms of being an entrepreneur, being a contractor, having this family, especially being a business owner, having this family and trying to balance all of this. So just generally, just throwing it out there that whoever, wants to start this conversation, how do you balance having kids, having a family, who does what? I don't know exactly everybody's situation. Caleb, I know Brittany is a part of the business, so that throws a whole different dynamic into the relationship. But in general, how are you guys able to balance all of this with the business? And I ask for myself because I'm married, and I can't imagine being able to run this business and also have a kid.
It's hard.
Yeah, that's the right answer. It is. It's tough, but the good thing is too, like, I fortunately have started a company so long ago. I don't want to say we've reached like a plateau or a crescendo, but we've reached a point where the company's stable and is comfortable, and I'm not having to work, 60, 80, 90 hours a week to keep the company going. So that's like a big thing. It helps a lot. So new guys starting out, my hat's off to you, because you got to put in that grind to get the company off the ground. And that's really challenging. And I can't imagine how hard that is with a family and kids. And And in my case, you know, Britt owns the company, so I work for her technically, but we've got a decent, you know, there's times where we got to burn the midnight oil or, you know, put off this or that, you know, with the family to get some work stuff done. But for the most part, we've really tried to hit stride. We have 3 kids, all of them under 6. And so we're really trying to, they're never going to be this young again. And I'm never going to have these opportunities again. So we're really trying to capitalize on that. And meanwhile grow the company and, you know, but not at the expense of the kids. I know guys that have built big, amazing companies and they're, you know, 50 and 60 years old now, retiring, and their kids hate them and don't know their dad because their dad was just building a company the whole time that they were children, you know. So that's always like echoed in my ears from a certain situation I remember talking to a guy about. And like, I'm really trying to make sure we're pumping the brakes and like, while the kids are young, try and enjoy them, you know. So, but it's tough, man. Even with a more mature business, it's still tough. So, hats off to the young guys out there starting up with a family.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When I started the company, I started working on the side while I was working another job. That was the hardest year of my life. I'll never forget it. I was working 40, 50 hours a week for a landscaper, and I was doing side work. And then we had the year before I quit and went full time, we had our first kid. And you have to, like Caleb said, when you start out, you have to man up and know that it's time to work. And if your spouse isn't on board, don't ever try to do it. Like my wife, we wanted to do this together. She was 100% game on. And that meant that when I'm gone, I got to be gone, or I literally work 6 days a week. It was insane. The first 2 years, the year right before I quit and went full time, and the year directly, my first year, full time year in business was crazy. We definitely had some fights, but you have to make sure your spouse is so much on board, more than you, because it will affect them more than it affects you. You know, we're just out there living the dream and working. You know, we love you can't run your own business and not love what you're going to do, but your spouse and family don't love it as much as you do. And you need to remember that, because, you know, at the end of the day, they've been waiting for you to be there, you know. And so now it's getting easier. I feel like I'm working less nights. I still, you know, I'm going all over the board here, but a big game changer for me was last year. I changed my meetings to only Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. That's the only time I'll meet with anybody. And that was huge for my wife, because in the years past, it was any night of the week I could be at a meeting or whatever, or she had no schedule. And so, you know, I was always under delivering on what I should be doing because there was no set schedule. So setting a schedule that you and your spouse agree upon is huge. It's been huge for us. And that's been really nice to have that. This year I was way more strict about it, and it's just a game changer. So, you know, there's a balance, but your spouse has to be on board, and talking about the expectations is huge, because you can get way overboard really fast, and everyone at home is left in the dust, and it's not worth it. It's just not.
Yeah, Jeremy, how do you bring your wife in and your family in on these business discussions and business purchases, you know, operating your business with your family, especially with a new one that you guys also have to take care of?
I do talk to my wife about most of the things that we're doing. And most of the time she says, no, that's stupid. You shouldn't be spending that money. But no, really, I have to sell her. So I have to present a very good proposal in order for her to get on board with it. We talk about it, and she's talked me out of a lot of things that I'm grateful that she has. She's smart. Yeah. She's got a pretty good business mind, but I'm pretty new at having a kid, so I have no experience except for the last 2 months of that that game. But it's not been too bad. She's actually sleeping through the night now, which has been awesome. My wife's been doing an
Wow.
awesome job taking care of her and taking that off my plate, really. But tactically, I'd say what's helped me is like a few days a week or 2 days a week, I'll just get up at like 4:30 and go to the office and get a bunch of stuff knocked out before people get in there. That helps. And then like Saturday mornings, if I can get up early and knock some things out, like that helps me get a lot of work done undisturbed, because that's the biggest thing is being undisturbed when you're trying to focus on a design or just bulk out some office work.
Mm-hmm. And
That's fun.
and Caleb, your relationship is a little bit more different because obviously your wife is part of the business, quite literally being the owner. How does that dynamic play in? Like, how do you separate that business from family? Like, do you guys have a set time that this is the time, we're all in on family, we're not talking anymore about the business, or how does that work?
We try to limit it, but it's more or less impossible if you've got two people that are passionate about the company. And we'll be, I mean, you name it, going to church or like eating dinner. It's like, hey, did you invoice so-and-so? Or don't forget that pipe bill is due, or, whatever. And it's asking me something. So it's, or I'll be in the shower and have a good idea and I'll yell it out of the bathroom to her, and so it's just like, that's just kind of our thing. That's our jam. So, but we try to minimize it, into the evening, but we love it so much. It doesn't bother us at the same time, because it is our bond. It's a huge bonding point for us. So, neither of us are annoyed by talking business, but the bad thing is though, like if they had a bad day, chances are you had a bad day too. And so now there's two people at home that both had a bad day, unfortunately at the same place, probably because of the other person. and what I tell everybody, it's like we're working with your spouse. It's on days when it's great, it's okay, and on days when it's bad, it's freaking terrible. And it's just how it is. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Gotcha. So turning the page here, I want to talk about employees and hiring, recruitment, onboarding, all this stuff. Starting with, in your business, what's the next employee you're going to hire, or what's the next employee that you want to hire, and why is that? Whoever wants to take that.
Bigger excavator.
So Andy, are you more like let's go equipment instead of employee, or why is that?
Like this year we went down one less guy than I had last year, and we're doing the same amount of work. And like the year before that was the same way. And we added the tilt rotator and the buggy last year, and we did a third more in business than we did the year before with less people. So that's how I want to run my company. I want the least amount of people to do the most amount of money. That's what I want to do. But I will say, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now without my three main guys. The guy that runs my mowing, we have one mowing route, and without him, I wouldn't mow. If he quit, I could probably just be done mowing. He does a great job, and he started with me since the first day I started the business. But then my main two hardscape guys, I couldn't do what I do without them. I mean, not near as fast. They're incredible people. So, that's super important, but I want like one more really good guy, and then that's it. 4 guys is good.
So is that basically like a one crew show, and then basically build equipment around them to make them as efficient as possible? Is that kind of your business model there?
Yeah. So I have 2 guys that mow grass full time, 4 days a week. They mow 40 hours a week. Then they help us do landscaping on Wednesdays and Saturdays if we work Saturday. And then I have a 2-man hardscape crew, and then I'm in and out whenever I need to be. And I have no desire to really get more than that. I really like the size, and we doing plenty of work. I'm happy with everything that's happening right now. But
What about yourself, Jeremy? How do you differ? How does your business model differ from Andy's? Or are you kind of in the same boat where you told him kind of equipment up and get your business going that way?
Yes, I definitely agree that labor efficiency is absolutely key in being extremely labor efficient. That's what we're going for. But I like to have a couple different crews, and like 3 guys on each crew I think is a really good size. If you can have 3 good guys working together, you can get a ton of work done. I think eventually I'd like to add one more crew, but it's all about the right people. I've got really, really awesome guys working for me right now, and without them we couldn't do anything that we're doing. I mean, they're just fantastic craftsmen, really. So I just want to get some more guys that are teachable that we can have working under these guys learning. And that's where I'm for right now, just some teachable guys. But, definitely stay as extremely labor efficient as you can be. Give them every piece of equipment, every tool, the most organized trucks, the most organized paperwork you can give them, and then just let them fly. That's what I'm trying to do.
Gotcha. And Caleb, yourself?
Same deal. We're running 4 guys in the field. I'd like to add a 5th floater guy that can kind of run in between, the 2 separate crews, if you will, kind of my stormwater civil type division, and then the hardscape landscape division. So we're kind of looking for a floater guy that's like foreman quality. But my 2 other guys are kind of more project manager status. So we're looking for kind of a floater foreman quality dude that wouldn't necessarily be a foreman per se, but I don't want to hire anybody that is under foreman skill level. I want to start a 3rd division of our company at some point. I can't say what it is because I just can't talk about it right now, but they're going to manage that division. So I'm big on like hiring a project manager and them a helper and turning them loose to run their own projects and keep me out of it as much as possible. So I wouldn't mind growing that way. But right now, where we're at, we've got a real sweet, real good sweet groove going right now. So we're happy with that. But yeah, a floater guy, and more like Andy said, more machines. You just can't go wrong with more mechanized website. My foreman Bo has been with me for 20 years. He's getting old and tired, and I need to keep him mechanized as much as possible and try to get some young guys up underneath him so he can really fulfill more of a project manager, managerial status. So we'll see where that goes.
So if you guys need these guys and new people coming into the industry, where are you going to find them? Do you have some, some place that you can go to kind of find these new guys, or is it just basically posting on job boards? And how, does anybody have any tips on how to find the right fit for your business?
All of my good people have been referrals from good people that already work for us. So we've done the Indeed thing. We're kind of fishing around in there now. But our biggest thing has been all my guys working for me have been referrals from those guys, more or less, of guys they essentially vouch for and would cover, essentially like if they bring them in, it's kind of like, well, why'd you bring this idiot in? Like you hang out with this guy, kind of thing. And a guy we hired this spring, kind of hoping to be our floater guy, really skilled dude. I've hired some real idiots in the past, and I'm done hiring, again, foreman quality up. And but we turned him loose with the guys and said, you're hiring him, and so you tell us if he's worth hiring or not. I'm not making the decision. It's on you guys, and it'll be essentially via consensus if he's trainable, workable, seemingly honest, and all that stuff. And then like those guys make the call if he gets on the team or not. Mm-hmm. And that's how we went about it. And it stinks because they vouched. They said, yeah, he's good help, but he's just a young kid. He's 24 and just a young kid, just still out at night too much, and just he called in late too many times. I said, you got to straighten up or you got to go, and he had to go. So it was a real shame because he had a lot of potential, but he probably won't if he ever realizes it, he probably won't realize it for a while. So it's a real bummer, but the labor pool's tough. That's why you got to replace him with machines. Like Charles Vanderkoy always said, machines don't get drunk, they don't get anybody pregnant, and they're still there Monday morning. And so that's a big thing with machines. And Charles Vanderkoy, rest his soul, he's right.
So how about I guess a lot of you guys, you guys have your crews kind of already in place. So I talked to, it was Jordan and Kyle of Evolve Design Build, and their onboarding process of bringing in a new employee. They actually have your courses, Caleb, the how to install pavers. They purchased that, and now that's part of their onboarding system where they tell their new guys to come in. Before you come on the job site, we're going to pay you to watch these videos, take notes, bring your notes in, so that they're not just getting thrown into the job site where they're just overwhelmed and don't know what's going on. What are your guys' onboarding process like for these new employees, and if you have new employees coming in?
Okay, so because of that podcast, that was an awesome podcast, by the way. Because of that, I've been trying to get Caleb to send me these videos, these how-to install pavers, because I thought that was a phenomenal idea. And I'm like, why have I never thought of that? Usually this is how it goes. They show up and I throw them in a truck and we go to work. Like I literally have no onboarding process. I know that sounds, maybe that's normal, but I hate interviewing. It's like, dude, show up with work boots and a lunchbox and jeans and let's go. So, and if you don't show up, then you're not going to work anymore. But that's how I've done it. And that's so like, I don't know. It's ridiculous. It could be so much better. So I thought when Jordan said that, I'm like, man, that is a phenomenal idea. So I have a guy that's going to be starting to replace our college kid that's been working, and I'm going to have him watch those videos if I ever get them. And that, because I just thought that was a great idea. I think it's a good way to get someone's feet wet. This kid has never done any kind of hardscape work, and that's fine. But you got to, I think a little bit of education will go a long way.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy, what's your onboarding process like for your business when you bring in a new guy?
Well, I tried the How to Hardscape videos, or Caleb's videos, but the guy I gave it to, he took it home and he never brought it back. So video. So that was a really good idea. That's actually how I met Caleb way back in the day. He brought the video to me. Now he has a link.
And a DVD. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it was a DVD. He brought it over to my shop. That's a good idea. I have no real process, and I should, but we just throw them out under somebody else, like under the foreman or whoever they're going with, and they're responsible for showing them the rope. The foreman, they like to teach the guys how to do stuff, so that's helpful, but we probably should have more of a formal process.
And Caleb, what about yourself? Do you use your courses as an example?
We have. It's funny. We don't. I haven't. The guys, when we shot the videos, all my guys were there anyways. So, if my guys don't know how to do it by now, I think we're in big trouble because they've all been with me for 20, 10, and 6 years. So, yeah, if we don't have it figured out by now, we're in big trouble. And there's always room to improve. Don't get me wrong. But Britt has started with that new kid we brought on this spring. And it's still such a shame he didn't work out because he had so much potential. Britt had a lot more stuff set up with like an interview and just talking to him and talking about, his experience and background and stuff like that. And again, putting a lot of it on the guys and using their interpretation of his skill level and or her or whatever, and letting them make the call so that they're accountable for that decision and they can't blame me for sending them some schlep, So that's become our onboarding process now. So, and there's more, like anything can be done with that, of course. But if he were to come on, being he's the newest guy, we would have him watch the training courses and stuff like that.
So getting into this, you guys all have guys that have been with you a long time. So let's talk about company culture and why they've been with you for so long. What do you guys do to add value to your employees' lives to make sure that they're sticking around with you? Do you guys have certain things that you live by in your company to make sure that they are as comfortable as possible, that they're not going to jump ship, that, you guys found these right guys and they're going to stay? Who wants to start with this one?
I'll go. I've tried to make working for us as good for my guys as if they were self-employed themselves, if they work for themselves. So if they need, and like a lot of guys, I'm sure Andy and Jeremy are here, like if they need time off, we're not going to sweat that a whole lot. Like, especially if we can give some heads up, but we're very lenient, probably too lenient, Britt thinks sometimes, but you know, if there's babysitter issues, you like they whatever reason, you know, we've got kids, so we get it. We try to be reasonably lenient, but they've been with us long enough. I can trust them when they have an issue. New guys are gonna steamroll you, and so the new guys don't get as much leeway. And that's one thing I told the new hire this year when he was late one day. I was like, "You haven't earned the privilege to be late yet. You haven't earned the privilege to call off yet." And which is something we try to do. I'm really trying to be big with, you know, the company culture thing. You know, Travis and Keith have been with us for pushing 10 years now, and John came back to work for us after he moved back east from a job he was doing out west for a few years. And we just try to, you know, aside from like paid holidays and paid vacation and all that kind of stuff, you just try to be, I try to be somebody I would want to work for, right? That's like reasonable and isn't yelling about stuff and flying off the handle about like of something that gets smashed up or whatever. Like, I want honesty out of my guys more than anything. I want them, if they hit something on the house or smash up a machine, I want them to tell me and not be afraid to tell me, even if it was the stupidest mistake on earth. Like, and I say this all the time, but I knew when I worked by myself how much stuff I would break or screw up in a week. And I knew and I care about my stuff, right? And so I know guys that come into work who care, but not like you care about your own stuff. I know that, you know, that's just going to be, you know, exponentially or, you know, just multiply out all that damage. And so it's like, I've just tried to always be reasonable and just complete openness, honesty, openness, and transparent. I think Marty Grunder always says, but just trying to always be open and with your guys, just be somebody you'd want to work for. And I sure hope that we're that way.
Jeremy, what about yourself? What's your company culture like? Are you really intentional with it in terms of bringing a guy in there, making it feel like home for him? How have you held on to your employees for as long as you have?
I think going along the line Caleb said, you know, making it somewhere where you'd want to work, that's a big deal. So for me, I always have work for my guys. They always have work to do. They're not going to get a call from me at, you know, 7:00 in the morning, like, hey, there's no work today. So like, even from the beginning, you always have to have work for those guys lined up and have their day planned. That's tough, but that's a big deal. They always get a paycheck. They don't ever miss a paycheck. So I think just keeping them working every single day and giving them that structure, starting at 7:00 in the morning, and they're going to work, you know, 5 days a week till 6:00 at night and be structured, and they're going to bring their lunch. It helps. It goes a long ways. And then, you know, being organized, having the right equipment, making sure that they're not dealing with a bunch of BS and running around to Lowe's because you didn't have your truck properly stocked and things like that. Like, as much as you can make sure that they're not dealing with a bunch of garbage, they're going to stick around and keep on working for you. You know, there's also, you know, vacation time and paid sick leave, all that kind of stuff, and we do all that. But I think the biggest thing for us is just being organized and they always have work. That's how we've kind of, I think, kept guys, or we're able to get guys in the beginning, and they've stuck around. So,
Andy, yourself, how have you kept your guys around for so long?
I don't know. I guess I don't really think about the company culture. This is making me think a lot about it, and more than I probably have in the past. But I think since I've started where I used to work, my boss was a really good boss. He never got mad, and I wrecked so much stuff over there. And it's just, I don't know. He was always super understanding, and I think that really rubbed off on me when I started my own company. Was I appreciated how much those kinds of things about him. And I'm not one to get mad about stuff. I don't fly off the handle. And I think, like Jeremy said, I think a lot of my guys enjoy working here because I treat them like normal people. And if they need a day off, like Caleb said, that these guys, my three main guys, they've earned that. I really like what you said, Caleb, about guys that are new. Like, you haven't earned that yet. Like, I want to use that line next time that happens. But my three main guys, I think the reason they stay around is like the equipment and setting them up for success every day. And, you know, sometimes when there's an issue, I try and think about, okay, well, is that a problem that I caused, or is it something it was actually their fault? You know, like where, you know, I need to look at myself first. Like if they broke something or they, you know, they took too long on a job, then well, okay, did they take too long because I didn't set them up for success for that day or whatever? I think that's super important to give them what they need to do the job. I'm on the job a lot of times, but, you know, often, like, even if a new guy messes up, like, you know, I get a call about they messed up weed whacking or something. You know, that really comes back to me because I don't do enough training. I literally send the guy out there and say, learn how to weed whack, you know, like that sounds ridiculous, but you know, if I want them to succeed, I need to be putting in the right amount of effort. And I think that the guys, my main three guys, I think that they appreciate, like, you know, the paycheck every week. Like I often hear people say like they left the job because they didn't get paid every week. Like I can't even imagine not paying your guys. Like that sounds so ridiculous, but it happens so often. I think, especially in our industry, it's like, why? Like that, if I would rather not pay a bill than not pay my guys. Like I can't even wrap my mind around that. And I think that, you know, people really appreciate that and treating them like normal people. Like they're not just units of production. You know, I'm a thankful person. I'm always thanking them for what they've done during the day. Or, you know, I recognize when they, you know, I was gone the last Hardscape job, I was gone a lot out of town or whatever. And my guys absolutely killed it. So I gave them a bonus for doing such a great job. And I think those little things, you know, remembering that they're out there working for the face of, you know, your company every single day, and realizing those things and rewarding quality work and you know, guys that, you know, you're proud to have on the job site with you, you know.
And what about investing into your guys? Do you guys send them to any ICPI certifications, any say manufacturer road shows when it's the off season? You know, do you guys do any education like that, or is it all basically on the job education?
It's all on the job for me. I haven't sent my guys to do anything like that yet. I would like to, I just haven't.
We'll go in the wintertime. We'll send guys to like the Teco and Unilock road shows, drainage seminars at Wolf Creek, or, you know, whatever. Like I'll sent Bo to a lighting thing one time. So like we do a little bit, not like I'd like to, but it's just tough to like commit that. It's tough, you know, to commit commit time to training. And it's one of those things too. It's one of the best things I ever heard from a professor of mine, Dick Ansley, was saying, you know, well, what if I train my people and they leave? Well, worse, what if you don't train them and they stay? And it was one of those things. It was like, probably should train your people. So, you know, so it was that always stuck with me. And it's like, it's worth investing the time in your people. It just pays dividends. There's a lot of ROI on just training your people. Or we're trying to do a lot more with training just in shop, like having like Monday with the big truck, or actually Friday. When does that mean? I don't know. We're having a meeting over the big truck. We're going to go over the big truck and talk about the air brakes and how to engage the dump bodies at the PTO. And we're going to have a big meeting. We have fire training meetings. We talk about Heimlich maneuver. Like we do all sorts. I'm weird. I just always am thinking of like horrible situation training stuff. But we've got combat application tourniquets in the trucks, and we're talking about how do you use these. And I'll just randomly ask, hey, how do we the fire extinguisher there? How do you work that thing? Where do you spray it on the fire? At the base or at the top of the fire? You know. And so I'm always going through this stuff with the guys of like just training, not necessarily like industry related stuff. And maybe that's bad, and that is bad actually, because I feel like maybe I'm the old dog in new tricks kind of thing, but we're always trying to train for stuff as far as like, again, that cross, you know, utility locate, you know, what the signs mean and what, Ohio Utility Protection Service training, stuff like that. We send our guys to that. So moving forward with all the the virus sickness stuff. I don't know what that'll mean for that other than just doing in-person and shop training. But long story short, I try to do a lot of that kind of stuff.
And yourself, Jeremy, what about yourself and your business? Do you invest in that sort of education for your people, or mostly on the job training?
Yeah, anytime there's an opportunity, we definitely do, like the GIE or the Techo Block shows. Try to get my guys down there. Sounds like we can't do the GIE this year, unfortunately, but we don't do a whole lot of meetings and stuff like Caleb's talking about, which is definitely what we probably should.
Yeah.
One thing that I'll do, like if I see the other day there was a blower sitting behind the tire trucks when they're unloading, and I just took a picture of it and sent to a group chat like, hey, don't put stuff underneath trucks, like this is how it gets run over. So I think that's like a good little thing that you can do. And we send like each other like links and stuff to YouTube videos or Instagram posts and stuff, like little ideas and tricks and stuff. So that's been good, but nothing super formal.
Caleb, when you have meetings with your employees to go over these certain safety things, have you ever had an outside rep or an outside source come in to talk about these certain things? Or is this basically held within the company?
Nothing from outside. We almost did something like that last year with fire safety and basic first aid. Almost did something like that last year, and I forget what the circumstance was that held us up from it. But everything is kind of like, I'll do some basic research, or I've got a buddy that's a paramedic and firefighter, and so like, and I've taken CPR courses and stuff like that. So I just try to, distill that down to the guys as simple but like effectively as possible, and then just randomly ask, like, again, you're like, how do you engage a fire extinguisher, or like, how do you use that tourniquet, and stuff like that. And Jeremy, you mentioned the group text, which is, we've got a company group text as well, which is really beneficial for that stuff. Buddy of mine that has like 9 employees, they've got a company Facebook, or an internal Facebook page, Facebook closed group, and they'll put stuff like that up there, and it's really cool. I love the concept, because they can then put in videos from other sources of stuff they think is cool for training or safety, and it's easier for everybody to watch and view, and you can see who's viewed it, stuff like that. And so I thought a company internal private Facebook group was a cool idea. So
that is a good idea.
Throw that out there.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. Continuing on with employees, everybody still there?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I just froze there. Continuing on with employees, any other things that you guys want to talk about in terms of the way you deal with your employees? Anything that you've heard of that you're wanting to implement in the near future with your employees? Any other topics about employees in general before we kind of move on to talking about the customer?
We're hiring, so if anyone's listening to this in Ohio, I will hire you. Please call me.
It looks like Caleb's on board for that with his new hat.
Yeah, right. I need a job.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, talking about the customer, some things that have kind of come up recently with me just asking about what guys want to hear on the show. A lot of things to do with dealing with a customer, and I want to start off by asking you, when you're meeting with a customer, what are some red flags that you notice with a customer before, because I mean, for the most of us, people that have the reputation built up, you can choose who you work for at this point, right? With how much work is out there. So what are some red flags that you notice with customers that kind of make you think maybe this customer is not going to fit in our business? Or is there even a red flag for you that you're not willing to deal with?
If they're in a really big hurry, or they're an engineer. I'm kidding.
So Andy, if they're in a really big hurry, why would that be a red flag for you? Do you want to just
I mean that in a way, like they don't want to take the time to meet with you, or like not like in a hurry to get the job done. Well, it depends on the job. If it's a hardscape job and they want it done tomorrow, like it's never going to happen. But I don't know. Sometimes I've met with people and I feel like I'm an inconvenience to be there to meet with them. Like if you can't like focus and like I'm here meeting with you and you can't like take enough time to like meet with me, like I don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
That always like turns me off really fast.
Yeah. So how do you handle something like that when like that's evident right away? Do you like continue the meeting? Do you try to get out what you want to get out to them, the information to them, or do you just kind of cut it somewhat short and you already know that it's not moving forward?
I don't know. I can get along with just about anybody. So like I'll usually will just deal with it, but I'll keep that in mind when I send them a quote.
Mm-hmm.
I usually try and let the quote make the decision, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
I'm not the type. I have yet to like maybe once or twice I've told somebody that like I just don't think we're a good fit. But usually, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I let the quote help them make their decision.
Jeremy, what about yourself? Any red flags with customers when you meet them?
If they're asking for red mulch or concrete, that's a red flag. They ask for free estimates, that's a red flag. There's there's a lot, but you can kind of tease most of that out on the phone ahead of time. So you try to tease that whole deal out before you even go out and meet with them. And you can generally, I'm trying to think of some right now, but honestly, the people that we've worked with this year have been really awesome. So I haven't had anybody lately that's been a red flag customer. So nothing fresh, no fresh wounds.
Sometimes
tease it out.
You have a really good feeling. Like the one customer I had a nightmare with last year. I should have never worked for him. I had a feeling about him when I met with him. I just shouldn't have done it. And I went against that, and I learned so much from working for that guy. And you have to trust your instincts. And sometimes it's like, I just don't like you. And it's okay to think that, you know, I don't know. That one job that we had last year is the worst experience I've ever had with a customer. And they're thinking back, there was so many things that I should have just never done the job. I didn't like it.
Can you kind of expand on that a little bit, Andy? Like, what was it about that first meeting with them that kind of gave you that gut feeling?
I don't know. First thing that comes to mind is the way he talked to his wife. We walked around the yard, the way he talked to her, and he was the man in charge, and she definitely didn't make any decisions in that household, I can promise you. And that's how the whole project went. He was in charge. And I don't know. I mean, he thinking back, that must have been why he didn't go with the 2 or 3 other people that he went with. Maybe they saw what I saw, but still thought that I should do the job. You know, I don't know. There a lot of people's body language and how they treat their family and how they email sometimes is a red flag. Like, I mean, this guy was a retired lawyer, and he just, the emails and how he recapped things, it was all wrong. I just should have. I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, I had a customer this year that kind of brought me, because you talked about that on our episode that I interviewed you, that brought me back to that situation. And I knew right away that was a no based on your experience with that customer. A very similar situation. And Caleb, what about yourself? Any red flags that come up when you're meeting with a customer?
You know, it's funny, Andy, talking about going through gut, and he's right. And I had 2 clients last year that I thought, these guys are going to be a pain, and we probably are going to regret doing this job. And the odd thing was I was wrong. And this is what I can't figure. Yeah, believe me, I'm still talking about it because I don't understand it. I had this feeling of like, this guy's going to be a pain, a thorn in our side this whole project. And it ended up being one of our best prettiest projects that year. And everything was fine. And it was one of those things I was like really questioning myself. I was like, I had, and another client, same deal. I'm like, man, I don't know about this, but they were fine. So, but in general, like everything Andy said is true. the stuff to pre-qualify that Jeremy was saying is like, anybody ask for like ridiculous products, or do you give free quotes? That's like the kiss of death to me right there. Like, I can't get off the phone quick enough if you're asking for free. If you give free quotes, or we want to have you out to give, for you to give us ideas. That right there, like,
oh, that's the worst.
dude, that just makes me want to vomit as soon as I hear it. And so,
just want to pick your brain.
Yeah, exactly. And so, getting that, calling that out in the phone calls initially, right, is important. But, just how someone, just body language, like Andy was saying, just, I've gotten where I think I have developed, because I did a job for a client 10 years ago that we had to sue to get paid out of the last draw of it. And it was misery. It was awful. Worst experience of my life. Thank God I had no kids. Thank God Britt and I were just one of our first big jobs together, and it went horrible. And the job actually was cool, but getting paid was a nightmare. There was a verbal misunderstanding on a change order, and it went to hell from there. And it is the most, like, I could see it in Andy's facial expressions of like how much of a pain that was for him last year. And I still think about that job 10 years ago and how we had to go to court and then ended up in mediation to finally settle out of it. And we got paid a fraction of what we were due, but we at least got paid something. And the pain from those lessons has probably saved me so much money going forward. And thank God I didn't have kids to deal, to go through it. Cause I mean, that's when Britt and I had no money. I mean, no freaking money. And we were going to take it on the shorts on that job anyhow. And then you throw in a lawsuit into it and not get paid the rest of it was just rough. And the best lessons for me have always been the most expensive or the most painful ones. And that was one of them. So going with your gut, like if a client you just don't get a good vibe, or another one would be too, is like, well, we've had a few people out, or we fired our last contractor. That right there is a big one too. Like, well, please explain that, or could you elaborate on that? And that's a big red flag to me too. So just trying to figure those things out. But the body language and just how they conduct themselves is a big thing to me. So in person.
So Andy, you talked about how you kind of let your quotes speak for making their decision. Is that the only way that you tell your customer or tell a red flag customer no? Or how do you guys tell a customer no? Are you willing to tell a customer no if you've already met with them, if you think they are going to be a pain, or if you think it's not the right job for your company? How do you guys go about telling a customer no? Jeremy, do you want to start this one off?
Probably on that first phone call, you can if they're asking you to do things that you don't want to do, like, I don't want to build a structure onto your house. I don't want to build a deck. There's certain things I just don't want to do. I want to do our certain jobs. And so if they're asking you to do those things, just tell them that you don't do it. And that's how I do. Or I don't do stamped concrete. I don't do composite decks. I don't do like that kind of stuff. I just don't do it. So I think part of it is you just need to know what you do and what you don't do before you take that phone call. And that's important. Right now, it's been such a feeding frenzy this year because of this whole virus thing, and people are our phones ringing off the hook. So you have to prioritize who you're working with. And if you don't prioritize, you're just going to run around and you're not going to get anything done if you're meeting with all these people. So right now, we're not even giving estimates. We're taking their name, we're putting them on a waiting list. So if people are willing to wait for us, they're going to get the job done sometime in 2021. And we're going to meet with them sometime in October and get the ball rolling with the estimate and the design. If they're willing to wait for that, then that's a pretty good sign. So if you're in that position right now where you are running around doing estimates nonstop and you're swamped with work, it might be a good idea just to put a pause on your estimates and just focus on getting your production done. And then, this stuff is still going to be there next year. So that's a good way to, I don't think that's really your question, but that's a good way to kind of soften the blow of what's going on right now. Mm-hmm. As far as telling them no, I mean, just if you know what you do and what you don't do, and if it's not something you're interested in, if it's outside of I told someone this today, they wanted us to go somewhere that was about 40 minutes away. And it sucks because it was a referral from someone who was up there before, who we did work for a few years ago. Back then we would go that far. But I had to tell him, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not interested. I gave him a referral. I wasn't rude about it or anything, but he asked me several times, are you sure you're not interested? And I said, no, I can't go that far anymore. We used to do that, but we don't do it anymore. So if you know your radius and you know what services you offer, then you're in a good position to tell someone no.
It's very hard to say no. I struggle with it. I just really do. I need to say no more than I do, especially like going to meet with people. And the hardest one is the referral, especially if it's like a referral from like a really good client. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to meet with you and you're just going to have to. Sometimes like I go to meetings knowing that it's probably not the right job, but I don't know. If it came from, the 10 people that no matter who, it's just one of those things, sometimes you got to do stuff, but I need to get better at saying no. And I did what Jeremy did at least the last month. I haven't met with anybody for at least 3 or 4 weeks now. And I'm not going to until probably September because I have a list of 15 people I haven't gotten quotes to in a month, and it's my biggest downfall is how long it takes me to get people quotes because I'm on the phone. I'm on the job every day, but it's the same thing he said. There's so many calls coming in. You have to know what you want to do and communicate that with people. It's just, I think giving them the right expectation, I have learned for myself is super key. Like, hey, I'm meeting with you now, but I'm not going to give you a quote for a month. And just say it because I know that's how long it's going to take me. But we overcommit ourselves, and I think Dave Ramsey said, under promise and over deliver, and I think that is something that is really key when you're meeting with people. Again, I don't think we're answering your question really, but
that's totally fine. Caleb, what about yourself? How do you say no to a customer?
I've gotten a lot better about it than I used to be. I used to be work everywhere and do everything, or at least price everything. And we've gotten a lot better about drilling down a little bit. We still got too many things going too many directions, but we're getting better about it. But I've gotten a lot better about just saying no, or if a client asks if we do a certain service, again, just being tactful, and I'll try to, get them a referral to someone I know that provides that service. Or if they ask us if we can do a certain thing on a job and it's not something we like let's say red mulch, or like a retaining wall entirely around all their beds, all the way around the house, that's a foot tall the whole way. I try to at least educate them according to the design world, according to the world of Caleb, of like, that gets pretty busy looking, and it's a lot of hard material everywhere. So if we're going to do that, we prefer to do accent walls here and there and stuff like that. So if no is not necessarily the right answer, we try to guide, I guess, into what is the right answer. And then if they still want to do that, we say, again, the best answer is, I don't think this job's a good fit for us, but here's someone it might be. And so just always trying to not burn a bridge and be tactful. And like these guys were saying, is the biggest and best way. And I try to say no with a referral, I guess, ultimately. And I got asked today if we do vinyl fencing. It's like, my guy John can. He's super skilled and everything. And like, unless we're dead out of work in December, no, we don't do it. And I hope it doesn't get that bad where we're putting up vinyl fence in December. So, so we just refer on to somebody we know that does fencing and that deal. And I need to get on board what you guys are doing with pushing estimates and stuff out and meetings out for a while. Cause same deal. I'm buried in quotes, and this is my job with the company, aside from running our education end and our social media end. Like, I finally got a huge chunk of stuff off the board right there. And it was like 25 quotes for stuff. And the big thing I'm struggling with right now is project size of stuff. It's like the little day jobs that you still got to have $3,000 on to make it worth being there, but the job's not worth it. But I'm still pricing this stuff anyways. And then I got to draw the line. What I've got to learn to say no is to, and Britt and I've talked about this a lot, is like saying no to small jobs. I've got to start saying no to small jobs. They take as much time and logistics, and these guys know this. The little $3,000 project takes darn near as much time and logistics and mental strength and meetings and all that crap to do as a $30,000 project does. Like, it's absurd how much time the little projects take. So we're trying to call out the little stuff, but it's tough again to say no again and generally, like Andy was saying, if it's a really like our top, 5 clients or something like that have no questions asked, the pricing, go do it kind of clients, I'll just to humor them on a referral, I'll go meet with about anybody at that point, just again to pay it forward for them if nothing else, and whatever. So saying no can be really tough, but it's something you've got to develop.
So I've had you guys on for quite some time now, and I appreciate your time, especially with all you guys having families. So, I mean, we could go on for a long, long time here. So I'll kind of bring this to a close as as I ask you this. In terms of in terms of the value that your company brings to a customer, how do you get that across to your customer that they should go with you and not somebody else? What is that value that you guys think your business brings, or that you're able to explain to the customer when you first meet them, that really helps you close those deals, those jobs? What's that value that your company ultimately offers?
I guess I would say for us, it's kind of along the lines of Andy. Your reputation precedes you a lot of times, and so people know that, like, just by showing up on time in a decent vehicle, and your work history behind you, like, that does a lot of the selling. For the most part, like, you hopefully shouldn't have to sell yourself too hard ultimately. Like, a lot of your referral and reputation should precede you, I think. And so if you've really got to sell yourself and push the fact that you're honest and quality work and all that stuff, now there's still, you still need to convey that to your client that, maybe in subtle ways that, you are an honest, diligent, responsible contractor. But fortunately, for the most part for us, we don't have to push that too hard or at all really anymore. And but just trying to be, I think the biggest thing with us is just trying to be responsive, and we answer the phone, we return phone calls, even if we don't want the job or we're too busy or it's not the right fit or it's something completely off topic. We just try to be that, the company that people can go to for a solution or for somebody that has a solution. So that's kind of I think the value add for us is always just, we tout our experience and tout our desire in the industry for the industry and for high standards, and then we try to back that up with punctual response, I guess. So gotcha. We try our darndest to do what we said we were going to do.
Jeremy, what's that value add that customers should go with J Squared Outdoor, that you see customers coming to you for? What's that kind of area in the market where you believe your company fits in?
I think a lot of people that call us have already, if not made the decision, are really wanting to get our input and our ideas. They've even thought about calling us. So, they've been researching your website, your Instagram, your Facebook, and they might have been following you. They might have accidentally followed you 3 years ago and just been watching you for years. And that happens, and they're paying attention. So by the time that they actually call you, the job might already be yours to lose. So at that point, you just do what you got to do and do the design and do a good design and do a good proposal that's well thought out. That's pretty much all you have to do at that point. So what you have to do is kind of do all that back end work and set up your Instagram and your Facebook and your website and everything in order to generate people that are already in line with your brand. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is they understand our brand, they understand the value of our design and our craftsmanship. So
awesome. And Andy, same question to yourself. What's that value add that your company has, and where do you fit in the market, do you feel?
I think it's something that I've been struggling with for the last year or two, is how do I'm terrible at selling myself. I'm a terrible salesman. I really am. It's like, here's the design and this is the quote and it's going to be awesome. Like I'm just really bad. I'm just really bad about it. I'm not good about picking out what we're good at. But the longer, literally in the last 2.5 years or so, I've really started to notice that guys like these guys down here and me, like it's not like that everywhere. And they're not doing a good job, and they're not returning phone calls, and they're not showing up when they say they're gonna show up. And I think it's simple things for, I think, maybe us and, good contractors. Those are maybe simple things, but probably it's a bigger deal than what we think it is. Like the other day I went and met with the job that we're working on now. I went and met with them for the first time. And I was going to be 3 minutes late. Like I literally hate being late. I am never late. And my GPS said I was going to be 3 minutes late. So I texted them, said I'm going to be 3 minutes late. And that was a huge deal. Like she's like, oh, you didn't have to text. Like, I can't believe you told us you were going to be late. Like that was a big deal for them. And, those little things are what separate you from the guy that's flying by night. And it just sounds ridiculous to me because that's just how I work. But those kinds of things are just a big deal, And, I think the Instagram thing and social media is a way bigger deal than what I mean. I know it's a big deal, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as other people, like contractors, think of it. Like I think people used to make fun of me in our area for how much I storied and how much I put on Instagram, so on and so forth. Well, the customer that we're working for now had 3 of her neighbors over here, and she was telling them to follow me on Instagram today. I literally heard her telling them to follow me on Instagram that, oh, he puts up what he's doing all day, and it's so great to watch, and so on and so forth. And like, that's selling the next job right there. And all it is me showing what I do every day. And it's not a game for me anymore. It's literally part of my job is doing that every day and posting it every day. And so I wrote a post about that one time. Like if a homeowner is looking for a contractor, like find someone that's going to do what I'm doing every day, showing what we do every day. I got nothing to hide. You can critique my job from the beginning to the end. If you have a question about it, come ask me. Like I'm not trying to hide something. So all those things together, that's why I'm the best contractor. And but it's so hard to explain that. I'm terrible at it. I really am. I don't know.
Guys, I think that's a great way to end this conversation. It was great to have each and every one of you. I'm just going to throw the ball into your court and let you guys kind of finish it with a closing remark. Let our audience know where they can find you online, because I know all of you three are active on Instagram, active online. So, Andy, let's start it off with you. Closing remark, anything you want to go over one more time, or, just let our audience know where they can find you.
I don't know. I want to say thanks. Thanks to these two guys, and thanks to you. It's crazy to think, all this whole thing would not be happening without social media, and I'm really thankful for it. I spend a lot of time on it, but I am seeing the fruits of your labor, so to speak, and being able to do things like this, and being able to. My business would not be where it's at today without these two guys right here. And that's truth. And it just is. I would have gone a way different way. I wouldn't have the things I have that make the money that we make. And, I just think I'm thankful for everybody and for this opportunity. And you can find us on Instagram at MMSNWI. And get it right, Caleb. And our website is mmsnwi.com. So,
awesome. Yep. Jeremy, closing comments, and where can we find you?
It's funny that Andy said, like, it's crazy that my business wouldn't be what it is without these two guys too. And I'm extremely grateful for that. It's wild. I guess here my closing remark is a quote by Andy Mulder. I don't do this for the exercise.
For real. Life's way too short.
And if you play that in your head every time you're writing a quote, you'll make more money. So you can find me at J Squared Outdoor on Instagram.
Awesome. And Caleb, close us out here.
And I'll follow up everybody there. Thanks for orchestrating this and having us on. I appreciate it, and it's cool to get to be a part with these guys. So thank you for that. And same deal. Like I looked at what these guys are doing constantly, if not all the time, to see what tips and tricks and things they're doing that I should be doing, and a huge leap forward in the past couple of years because of these guys with our company, and the whole mentality of mechanization over labor. So the social media thing is just crazy, and the network and community it's built, which is really cool. So thank you for what you guys share on there, which is super cool. And the thing I always share, I think, as and like these guys tout too, like with any business, like guys starting up and you want to get to like these guys level and stuff, just know your numbers, pay attention to your books, and do the best job you possibly can do. And just have a drive and a passion for the business, and it'll roll forward from there for you. So thanks again, everybody.
Amazing, guys. Thanks so much for your time. Just bear with me as I close this out. Just want to say thank you to everyone listening in and tuning in every week on the podcast. Leave us a review, subscribe to us wherever you can. This will be on our YouTube channel, so you can also watch this and see the faces of the people that are actually talking and be able to follow the conversation a little bit better. That's why we did video here. And thanks once again for everybody listening in. See you next week. And that's it. Andy, Jeremy, Caleb, thank you so much. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
Thank you. That was fun.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
I appreciate it.
Maybe you could talk. You talk a lot about these unprecedented times and how. I was saying earlier. I'm like, no, Caleb, be cool. Don't be that. Don't be Caleb.
This whole thing, president. Your hat is unprecedented.